Good morning, one and all present here, and welcome to the day 2 of the boot camp as a part of the orientation program for the first year undergraduate students of Jain deemed to be university. Before we start with the session, a few things. Please keep yourself in mute. Um, you can unmute yourself when you want to ask a question to sir at the end of the session. So there will be time given for Q&A session and you can ask the questions. During the talk, if you have any questions, then you can put it in the chat box to the host and we will make sure that those questions, we ask those questions to sir at the end of the session. In case you're having any kind of issue rather than interrupting the speaker in between, kindly post it in the chat box again. Don't interrupt the speaker in between. Whatever it is, kindly put it in the chat box and we will see that we get back to you. So with that, let's kickstart today's event. And it gives me immense pleasure to welcome today's guest speaker, Mr. Shravan Shetty. Sir is a career coach, speaker, and consultant. Mr. Shravan is a postgraduate in business administration from Ohio University. He has been working as a career coach for more than 10 years now, and he is also an eminent speaker. And Sir has given talks in various corporate settings like ITC, Flipkart, and more. Sir has been associated as a consultant for various prestigious organizations like UNICEF, Global Action Poverty, Ernst & Young, and many more. And today, the topic that Sir has chosen is very intriguing, and that is True North, Blueprint Your Career Growth. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us, sir. And I'm sure the students are going to learn a lot. So it's my request to the students that make most of it. And whatever questions you have or whatever clarifications you have about the topic, try to get it clarified at the end of it. And with that, I will hand over the session to Mr. Shravan Shetty.
Thank you, Janna. Thank you for the lovely introduction. So let me begin by saying that I picked the specific True North because actually voyagers and we go back centuries. There is the magnetic north, but when we say true north, there is the geographic north, which is in opposite direction of the north. So a lot of times as students and as people working in a particular organization or in the world of work, we're always faced with this question, right? The question is, should I do what all my peers are doing or should I do something different? And when we look at doing something different, the first thing that comes to our mind is that, are we doing things differently just because we want to be different, right? So what do we base this on? So True North as a principle has been researched and well documented by Harvard Business School pioneers like Stephen years where they have on their strengths, not because they work on their weakness. So the first question that all of you will be having in your mind is COVID-19, right? And how does this impact us? We've already seen the first impact. COVID-19 is equivalent to the word crisis. And when we think of the word crisis, funnily enough, the word crisis comes from two Chinese characters, as does COVID-19, as we all would agree, has also emerged from China. And the two characters symbolize two different aspects. One is crisis, which is danger, and the other aspect is opportunity. Today, as the world and the economy is reeling under tremendous pressure and everything is giving away, what we can see when we look at the stock exchange is that this probably is the best opportunity for life sciences and healthcare. right? You can find that there is a lot of activity in this sector, and as much as other stocks and shares are going down, it's the opposite impact. This is to illustrate that adversity, whenever it affects and comes into play, there is always opportunity also at play. So now, taking a step further in our discussion on this, uh, how do we find our true north? How do we ensure that we are successful? So right now, as you are stepping into your education stream and looking forward, uh, we are all, concerned about what's going to happen to this batch of students who have to now go completely online, and how long is this engagement going to take place, right? So there is a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity. I would like to say that everybody, right? The most successful tennis player, the most successful corporate CEO, everybody was a baby once. And every building, monument, great structure that you see, corporate or historical, was once only a design on a piece of paper, a blueprint, right? So as much as we would like to believe that blueprinting our plan, looking at what we should do, constantly preparing, is not really important. In fact, it is the most important step that we can take to ensure that we can move forward in terms of our career growth as well. So I would like to, begin by saying that preparation, definitely ensures that when the opportunity comes, you can grab it with both hands and be successful. So let me begin with, a simple anecdote from Isaac Newton's life. Isaac Newton said that whatever he achieved in terms of his career success as a physicist, and whatever he did, was through standing on the shoulders of giants before him, which means that a lot of physicists had done a lot of work. He went through their work, framed his principles. In the recent news, there are several articles regarding people who believe after 5 years or 10 years of research, they discovered something new. And after they try to go and patent, they figure out that somebody's already invented it. That's the greatest tragedy, right? So as pure science students, somebody who's setting up their career, it's very important to see what is it that people have already done in the field that you are getting into. So this gives you an idea about where you want to chart your direction. Do you want to get into research? Do you want to get into academics? So as a career coach today, technology has simplified and complicated my life to a large extent. And I say this with all humility. Earlier, around 5, 6 years ago, people used to come to me and say, okay, what career should I pick? Now people come to me with a whole list of careers because they go to Google Baba and put in what are my career options after BSc physical science, what are my career options after forensics, what are my career options after BSc life sciences. So the Google itself shows them a lot of options. So now it finally comes back to what I was talking about, true north, about finding a direction. So people come to me asking me for direction, what direction they should take. So the principles of true north are primarily self-awareness. You need to know yourself. So if I ask you, each one of you right now, to tell me what are your top 5 weaknesses, I'm sure you will be able to rattle it out very quickly. You might not feel comfortable sharing it in the public forum though. But when I ask people to list on 10 strengths, people take some more time. People take a lot of time. Sometimes people say, okay, let me get back to you in a few hours. A few people say, let me get back to you in a day's time. So it's important for us. One of the principles of true north is self-awareness, know thyself. The second one is relational transparency, be genuine. This is something which I realized when I was at Ohio University, and uh, right through my BBM years and MBA years, I've always been active in competitions, and I've always gone about it like it was a resume building task, constantly moving across projects, going after success. Make anything of your life. This is my personal experience and belief. It's important to do balance processing. That's the next principle in being, finding your true north, which basically means you have to be fair-minded. You have to look at win-win, right? And you have to have an internalized moral perspective in terms of doing the right thing for you and the right thing for others as well. If you're doing something which is right, which is resulting in a lot of wrong, by wrong I don't mean like you compete fairly and you win and that results in somebody feeling bad about it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're doing something in a unethical manner. So at this point of time I want to talk about somebody you might have come across in Karnataka. If you Google search the word drone Pratap, you'll come across this youngster who hit national and international acclaim about being one of the youngest drone pioneers in India. And recently, over the past few months, it's come to the light that this person was not actually very true, and he was basically passing off drones and other inventions done by others as his own. So don't take shortcuts for success because you think that this is going to get you fame by taking somebody else's work or credit as yours. It's important for you to build authenticity, be fair-minded. If you are taking somebody's research, especially in the research line, it's important to quote whose research you've used. It actually gives you more strength rather than it being a weakness that you've used somebody else's work as a foundation for it. One of the true pioneers in being successful is Dr. Stephen Covey. And if you go into any bookstore or online, if you put a search for success, secrets to success, best self-help books, you'll get this book which is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And these 7 habits are also to find your true north, and Dr. Stephen Covey is mentioned the same as well. Uh, it's something which you already know. See, the great thing about success is that the rules are the same. What's really tough is building those habits which will get you to being successful. So he talks about being proactive, begin with a goal, begin with an end in mind, put first things first, prioritize things. So right now you have a session today and this is the only session, right? And this is part of your boot camp. A few weeks later, your classes will start. Unlike the situation which we find uh, ourselves in, which is right now, if we look at it, online classes have done one thing which college students dislike the most and like the most, which is mostly as college students, we are pushing everything to the end, right? So if you have exams coming up, most of us study in the last minute. When you're going through your classes, it is human tendency, even I as a college student have bunked classes. And even when you're in the classroom, we're distracted. However, what we find is that due to the online classrooms, you will find that the supervision task of the teacher is now limited to ensuring you don't chat with each other, but they don't really know what you're up to. So now more than anything else, it requires you to take ownership of your own life and decide how you want to craft your uh, degree course. Do you want to just have fun? That's fine if that's your choice. But then what comes after that is also your responsibility. Muhammad Ali very famously said that if you look at practice, right? If your practice is tough, then performance is easy in life. So right now, if you can take the most from your 3-year degree course, 4-year degree course, you will be in a position to leverage your career very well as compared to other peers, because your competition is not your classmates sitting in Jain University. Your competition is people from all across India. And India is at the brink of a great opportunity. If not for COVID-19, with our manpower building efforts, we would be able to leverage what is called as a demographic dividend. Demographic dividend basically means that the population of a country emerges to a point where the age median is the youngest in the world. So that's what went China's way in the past 10 years. They had the youngest population, over a 10-year period. So we are in that, will be one of the youngest countries in the world if you look at the population of people who are in the 20 to 35 age band overall. So which means that now because of COVID-19, the economy has shrunk, which means there is competition. So if you want to be looking at yourself 3 years from now, yes, we will bounce back from COVID-19, a cure will be found, but you will also find that job opportunities, the really creamy job opportunities will be 10 to 15% in each sector. So if you want to get into the best jobs, the best higher education institutions in your line, it becomes crucial for you to be amongst the best, not just in theory, but also in practice, practical understanding. So, which brings us to the fact that how do we crack this, right? It's great for me to say, be proactive, begin with the end in mind, put first things first, think when, seek first to understand, then to be understood, synergize, sharpen the saw. These 7 habits are the habits which have been covered by Stephen Covey's book. So that's his work. So what I have found in my career coaching years in India over the past decade or so is that what really works well is when we Indianize our approach or customize our approach. Uh, the adage goes that, think global, act local. So I have put in practice a 5 principle formula, which is very, very easy for you to look at finding your true north and being truly successful. It comes from 5 Indian words, so to say. Soch is the first thing. Think. Think that you want to be better. And that's where it starts, because that's where you are inculcating the need that you want to better yourself. You're setting a goal for yourself, which is a high performance goal about improving any aspect of yourself, right? And the moment you start thinking about it, you automatically start looking for more information. So from Soch, we move to Gyan. So from thinking about change, we start collecting knowledge about change. So if I say, okay, how do you find the cure for COVID-19 to a life sciences student as compared to a BBM student? A BBM student will look about commerce management, how to get resources in place. But a life sciences student will start looking at the research angle in terms of seeing what are all the cures already available in the market, what needs to be done differently. So one of the research points that came out was that with COVID-19, after it was discovered, people were trying to figure out what was the source of the COVID-19 in terms of what animals it came from. Immunologists in Switzerland actually came to the fore and said that we need to be focusing on the human body's response to the COVID-19, right? And now that is the pivot which has led to studies where we're looking at the vaccine. We wasted precious time. If you want to know more about it, you can just search for immunologist and put search for it along with Shekhar Gupta. There was a brilliant news feature where he discussed different aspects of it. So what I'm talking about is necessity is the mother of invention, yes. So which means that you start thinking about change. What is the problem you want to solve? You start collecting information about it, which is Gyan, and you start working on it. You start really applying it, right? So we say there is life sciences and there's applied life sciences, right? We say that there is forensics and there is applied forensics, for example, right? Forensics in theory, only when you put it into application, you really see what it can do. So after you have thought about change, so you've collected knowledge about it, you start working on it. What I talk about application is karma, right? The more work you do, the more projects you work on in your area, in your core area and related areas, and you start building skills, the karma turns to tejas, which is the glow within, your potential within, which has been there untapped. The more work you do, it releases your inner glow or your inner potential. Now, with all of this, what's happening is the final goal is the change of identity. You come into Jain University as a fresher student and you're perceived as a fresher who doesn't know anything about the field. Now, as you spend 3 years, you start building your reputation over projects and the way you score in your exams, the way you interact with your peers, the way you work yourself in these 3 years in the institution, right? So with Soch, Gyan, Karma, Tejas, what you're doing is you're changing your identity. The moment you have left your college, so some of the courses in the Jain science stream have been around for 20 years. And there are courses which have been here for 5 or 6 years. And there are alumni who have stepped out of this institution, which is now going to be alma mater. And you will find that a lot of the people who are successful now in their streams were people who really worked hard even during their college years, or they started working hard after they left. So definitely, if you look at success principles, Soch, Gyan, Karma, Tejas definitely will help you to reposition your identity. So after completing your BSc, when you go back to your school where you studied for 10, 12 years, they treat you differently because the boy who left, the girl who left, and the man or woman who comes back, having become a name in their career stream is a matter of pride for them. So what you've done is you've changed your astitva or identity for that matter. Which brings us to the fore that how do we actually grab this principles and really apply it. In any case, as you work hard, you will attract mentors. So just give me a minute. Just have a drink of water. All of us need mentors to succeed in life. If you want to do well in life, you need a mentor. Let's take Sachin Tendulkar for example, right? Most of us who know anything more than Sachin Tendulkar's cricketing life is that he had a marvelous teacher who was not even a national level or international level player, Ramakant Achrekar. And Ramakant Achrekar is somebody whom Sachin Tendulkar owed a lot of debt and gratitude for shaping his skill sets to becoming a fine cricketer and batsman, right? He built his mental strength as well. It is said that Ramakant Achrekar used to make young Sachin Tendulkar run around Shivaji Park 2-3 times with his pads so that, his stamina would build up even before he started, with this cricket practice. So as, going back to the earlier principle, if your practice is tough, then performance in your career and life is very easy, right? So again, you need a mentor. So to quote a story from the Mahabharata to help us understand why mentorship is really extraordinary and is very useful and why you need to seek out mentors. So I know that yesterday you had two mentors who addressed you yesterday. One was, I think, a person from Airbus and another person from M-Play actually addressed you. So even the corporate speakers that Jain University is bringing in, to connect with you, have an interaction with you, feel free with all these resources which are introduced to reach back to them and ask them for advice. And when they actually give you advice, implement it, apply it, and go back to them and say, I have worked on your feedback. You will find that they will tremendously, work on your career and help you succeed. Some may respond, some might not, but keep this up and you never know who will be in a position to help you in your career. So to give you an example from the Mahabharata, which I was referencing to, everybody says that, Ekalavya was cheated because of the fact that, Drona asked him to give him his thumb. But let's look at the reason why Drona did that, right? So the story goes that a few years before Ekalavya even saw Drona teach Arjun, why did Drona have this special, affection for Arjun? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the Kauravas and Pandavas, during the Mahabharata, Drona went with the Kauravas, right? Because they were the kings and the Dhritarashtra's children. Then why did he have this special affinity for Arjun and promise him that he'll make him the world's best archer? So as in movies, we say there's a flashback. So let's do a flashback and go back to the time that at the Gurukul, right? Before Drona made this promise to Arjuna to make him the world's best archer, what happened right there? So it was an evening time in the Gurukul and they were all seated down to eat. And, unlike electricity, there they had lamps with oils. And it so happened that at the specific time of dinner time or evening time, the lamps, ran out of oil, just like our generator sets run out of oil. And there was absolute darkness and the food had already been, served and the princes were about to start eating as such. So as is the case, somebody went and got the lamp oil and the dining hall area was again, bright. And then people noticed that a lot of items from their plates were missing. And then they looked and they saw that Beam had a plate with all his food, choice food piled up, and he had taken specifically only things which he wanted, like let's say a laddu or stuff. So it was as if that he could see and, hear in the dark. Of course, everybody attacked him, but Beam being like a bull, he just shook everybody off. Arjun was the only one who saw him with, with a lot of keen intention and curiosity. And after the fighting between the brothers and the Kauravas, Pandavas over this food incident, after dinner was over, Arjun went to Bhim and said, Brata Shri, aapne aise kaise kar liya? So then he says, see, I'm so passionate about food. The moment the food is brought into the hall, I know who's bringing what food. Even when it's placed on the plate, I can make out from the sound on who's taken what on each plate, right? Because that's my passion. And he walked away, leaving Arjun, very thoughtful. A few hours into the night, Drona and Kripa were, taking an assessment of the security situation because there were princes, right? And princes could be kidnapped and held for ransom. So he was just reviewing the security of the thing, and they could start hearing sounds, right? Sounds of arrows. They thought that the ashram was under attack. So Dronacharya, as any warrior teacher, took his weapons and went to the spot where he could hear the noises of the arrows. And yes, you're guessing it right. This was in the archery area, and he could see that Arjun had, tied a blindfold around his eyes, and he was just firing arrows one after the other. And it was not like they were all hitting the target either. And Drona watched him for an hour or so, and then after a while went to him and asked him, "What are you doing, Arjun? Why are you doing this so late?" So he said, Guruji, this is what happened between me and Bhim. I want to be the world's best archer, and I'm willing to put all my hard work because this is what I want to be the best at. And Drona was drawn to this passion of Arjuna, and he told him and gave him a promise looking at his commitment that I will make you the world's best archer. So finally, when you look at what Drona did with Eklavya, even though it was unfair, he was basically keeping the promise that he had made to the student of his, right? Who had shown him the commitment and he had made a promise to him. So it's great when you ask for feedback from people and people give you feedback. It's even great. It's even greater when we are in a situation where feedback is worked on, right? You keep asking for feedback from people and people keep giving you feedback. You keep working yourself, your strength grows, right? Your competence grows. So that's where you get really great clarity of thought about yourself. So coming back to finding your true north, the more work you do, the more you discover your strengths, the more you see how you're operating, right? Based on feedback from others. And you get great mentors that ensures that you're going to do well. And you don't need to have a single mentor in your life. You can have multiple mentors. In fact, different mentors for different things. So today, a few months ago, even though I'm a career coach, I've not really been very comfortable with the transition to online, but now it's become a compulsion. And I had to figure out how to use Google Forms. And for most of you, using Google Forms might be really very, very easy. So I wanted to set up a questionnaire for a career study where I was going to be impacting, studying around 1,500 different professionals from across different career streams. I had the questions ready, but I was really struggling with going online and trying to figure out how to put this up on an online questionnaire which could be shared. So then I reached out to one of my proteges, a St. Joseph's College student whom I had helped in terms of guiding her on her marketing project, and asked if she could help me with it. And this is where reverse mentoring comes in. So we might feel at any age that it's only to older people we are looking for advice. That isn't true. We can get advice from people who are younger than us as well. So you might finish your BSc and you might find that somebody is a ace researcher who started looking at the area you're in much before you. So there is no shame in reaching out to people younger than you or older than you or your own peers to get more knowledge, because knowledge is truly empowering. So looking at mentoring, I've also looked at reverse mentoring, saying that as you proceed in life and you finish your course, start working, even when you're working, don't let ego get in the way. It's very important to understand that everybody has their own pace in life. Some people might become successful before you. Don't grudge them that, right? Your success will come as you work more and more on transforming your potential, untapped potential, into performance. Which brings us to building skills. How do you build skills, right? So I have told you in general about a lot of things. So let me come to you specifically about what does it mean to be a skilled person in today's world, right? The government, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, everybody is talking about skilling, right? India needs to be more skilled. But the question is, how do you build your skills? What's a reference for it? So what we say in the area of skilling or employability skills is that there are different shaped people. The I-shaped people, the T-shaped people. By I-shaped people, what we mean to say is, for example, I-shaped person could be somebody who's learned carpentry and knows carpentry, right? So then what should he do to become a T-shaped person? When he starts building depth in terms of looking at lighting of the room, he starts looking at what it is to be interior decorator, he's moving towards building his T skills, right? So likewise, right now, when you are looking at yourself and you're doing your course, and there is a favorite subject that you have, let's say, for example, biology, right? So what you're doing is you're building your depth in that subject as. Sorry about that. I was just getting a call. Let me see if I can.
Students, kindly have some patience. He'll most probably be back. So we'll get back to you.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, sorry about the. I think there was some connectivity issue. So as I was saying that if you want to be a great biochemist, it becomes important for you to look at the aligned fields as well. So it's important. If you specialize in only one area, you will become a person who is unidimensional. So in the real world, hard skills and soft skills are not utilized separately. Hard skills and soft skills go hand in hand. You might be taken in a classroom a soft skill training, but finally tomorrow when you're in an interview room and the panel is asking you questions uh, you know uh, about immunology, for you to get into a role of immunologist, it becomes really crucial for you to be able to understand the questions, answer them appropriately, also with your knowledge of immunology, right? So which means that there's no separate hard skills, soft skills in the real world. It comes together. So coming back to building a team, uh, you have to build depth and width in any area that you seek to build yourself as a career professional. So which means that if you want to be a great teacher, it's not enough just knowing teaching pedagogies and being a dynamic speaker. You also need to be somebody who knows your subject well. That's when students align to you and respect you. So likewise, if you look at bureaucrats, right? If you're an IS officer, IPS officer, it's important for you not only to know the laws of the land, but you also need to know human psychology. You need to know criminology. You need to understand what is the due diligence process, right? As we are seeing to the what's come to the fore between the Mumbai cops versus Bihar cops on the Sushant Singh Rajput case. People are questioning protocol, what was done, why were they. Hello. Yeah. So what becomes really important is to look at building a T, right? Building depth and width in what you're taking up. So a lot of times we ignore academics, thinking that academics is not important, because we read reports in the newspapers saying that academics theory is just theoretical. It's not true in the real world. I would beg to differ, because I have found that people today who are doing well in research and that fundamentals are rock solid, right? So please don't believe what you read in the newspapers. There are different lobbies at play. Your academic years are very important. Today, as a career coach, when I'm functioning, I tell you that there are a lot of MBA students who say that MBA was useless, but I tell you MBA is very useful. You look at all the people who come up with great marketing strategies. Some people might do that, but what is at play is the marketing principles. Consumer psychology is at play. So definitely, absolutely, theory is important. Theory is the foundation on which you're going to build your monument of a career, which is going to be a remarkable structure and which will help you to be successful, for sure. So that's something which I definitely want to, lay stress on. I think it's also important for us to look at, for example, somebody like Thomas Alva Edison, right? So he said that he found, 10,000 different ways of not finding the right filament. Now, if he was not really strong on his understanding of technology that he was building, as he committed a mistake, he learned more and more and he built it up, right? He kept it all documented. So he knew what mistakes he had done. That's how he was able to crack the formula. So imagine in the COVID-19 race for vaccine, if people are not theoretically sound and don't know what they are, experimenting with, that means everything would have to be a human trial, right, for the vaccines, which means that the first set of people will all die, right? So theory is very important to test a lot of things before you actually go into a practical experimentation phase. So definitely theory is very important. Experience is very important. Seeking mentorship is very important. And definitely during your 3 years in college, I would recommend that you start looking at social networks other than Facebook, like, for example, LinkedIn. Set up your profile, start looking at alumni of Jain University who have passed out, see where have they gone, what have they done after doing their BSc, what did they do when they were doing their BSc, get internships, right? Read up, connect to different forums. So you can definitely start building a specific, measurable, achievable, and a relevant time bound career plan that you can build and start putting it into practice. And this will definitely help you. So for example, if you say that as a forensics student that you want to get into crime scene investigation, during your free time, even if you're watching crime scene investigation TV serials, it's still helping you to understand what is real, what isn't real, right? So it's aligned. I'm not saying don't have fun, definitely enjoy your college years, but it is very, very important for you to start preparing for your working years, for your next further studies, if you're planning to go abroad or do a master's from a specific university. Please understand that COVID-19 has ensured that a lot of people are now more aware about institutions. So everybody's trying for the same areas, right? And the fields that you are currently studying in are relatively, explosive fields, because now you'll find a lot more people coming into these areas. A few years ago, as uh, management professionals, people at a roundtable would say that education is recession proof, right? But today, COVID-19 has proved that education is not recession proof. A lot of educational institutions are struggling. Uh, Educators are struggling. But disease control, I tell you, is definitely recession proof, because no matter what we do as humanity, we are not immortal, right? So you will definitely in these areas, wherever science is involved, right? Definitely, as long as humanity is there, there will be crime. And disease control, nutrition these are the evergreen areas and fields. So this is where you can really make a stake for yourself and build a really strong, build those key skills, find your true north, go at it in terms of working, collaborating with your own peers in your own college, create tremendous, work outputs, and you will find that success is easy. So I would like to, I know we are close to, I think around 45 minutes in my estimate in terms of how the time's going. So what I will do is I want to just sum up and say that if you want to change anything about yourself, it starts at the soch level. You think about what you want to change, start collecting information from people around you and the right resources to bring in that change. So which means that if you want to build a body, which is a muscle body, a six pack, then you get the equipment, go to get a personal gym trainer or look up videos, talk to a nutritionist, get these experts in place so that you can start working on it. Now, after you start working on it, you will start seeing the changes in your body, right? And you will start moving towards seeing relevant changes which will motivate you to keep moving in that direction of change that you want to see for yourself, whether it is physical change, academic, career success, use this 5-step formula, Soch, Gyan, Karma, Tejas, Astitva, as I talk about it. You can also, I would recommend one more thing is, if you, once the session is over, I will send a set of 30 questions to your faculty, which are the true north questions. There are a set of 30 questions which you can use to transform your life. Each question requires you to at least think about it for a day each. The first question is, what is the legacy that you want to leave the world with in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? What is the legacy you as an individual when you're starting your studies right now? If 20, 30 years, your life is over and you're looking at the life that you've spent in terms of career, what is the legacy you want to leave behind? Think about what is the legacy. Do you want your legacy to be of a businessman, of being somebody who found a cure? Do you want to be somebody who's known for social work? So these are all different facets. So think about what is the legacy. 20 years from now, when you die and there's a newspaper article, what do you want that newspaper article to say? Very powerful to help you find your purpose and discover your purpose. And you'll find all of it when you answer the question. Keep looking at the question, right? Every month, and you will keep finding that the answer is changing probably. And it's okay to change your answer, but you need to be in touch with yourself and what your aspirations are. So on that note, I would like to close my session and head into the Q&A by saying that what lies behind us, right, and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So you have infinite potential, right? There is nothing that you can't do if you put your mind, body, heart, and soul to it. And I'm sure each one of you at Jain University have come from wonderful backgrounds and have made it here and have chosen Jain University because you know the Jain University is going to give you a springboard to blueprint your career growth for sure. So on that note, I have to say I'm open for questions.
Sir, before going to the questions posted on the chat, some students have posted that it's an amazing and informative talk and they can really relate to it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, so the first question is from Ashna. She wants to know that, sir, how do you know whom to trust in terms of help and advice?
Okay. So I think that's a great question. Trust is something which can be garnered by looking at how people respond to it. So for example, let us say that there is a speaker who comes, right? And the speaker talks to you about something and you want to reach out to the person. So the first step is that you track trust every point of the way till the person gives you enough reason to no longer, be trustworthy. So for example, if you are a girl, right? If you are a girl and you are approaching a man and during the entire solicitation period of information, does the person do strange things, tell you, let's get on a video call late in the night, let's do it outside in a coffee shop when there is no requirement to so, it's clear that the person is not trustworthy, is doing something different. So that definitely is just specific I'm talking about because in my experience with the educational institutions, I have found with schools and colleges that there are some of these incidents which come by. So that's one thing. Second thing in terms of trust overall is, I would like to use the metaphor of trust being like a bank account, right? When you are looking at funds, right? So a joint bank account. If two people are operating a joint account, it's important that both are making emotional investments. If you are talking about building a trust with a friend, Ashna, so what becomes important is to see that as you are putting effort into that relationship to build trust, is the other person doing the same? If the other person isn't doing something to build the trust, then definitely it's a sign for you to hold back on making further emotional. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Sir, the next question is from Viveka Vane. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm sorry if I'm not. Could I know how we get a job rather than placements? Like, I think he means how to get a job on our own rather than depending on placements.
So that's a great question, especially in these times. So what happens is that I have, just to quote an example, there are students in a course, whether it is in India or abroad, who wait till the end final year to start looking for a job and depend on placements. And believe me, this is a very good question, because in India, we believe more in rights than responsibilities. So, देश ने हमारे लिए क्या किया है? कुछ नहीं किया है. So, same way with the institution, when you pay fees, you believe that the institution should get you a job. It's the institution's responsibility. So that's a very good question. The way to start getting a job is to right now itself start looking at what are the general career opportunities that people are getting into. Let's say your previous senior batch, where did they go? What jobs did they get 2-3 years ago? When you go into linkedin.com and create your profile and you start searching for people of your stream, you'll find that people from different colleges with a similar course have gone into different lines. So you can see what jobs they've done, what certifications they've done. So I would say that start maintaining an Excel sheet of what are the different companies which are hiring for the profiles that you're interested in. What is it, the requirement for them? What are they looking at in terms of skills, right? And achievements. Start seeing if you can use your holiday vacation breaks to do short internships, right? Take up short projects as well, so that your profile starts building up. So we find that at least 65% of job opportunities come in terms of conversion of internships, right? So don't depend on the college to get you your internship, because a college works on a simple logic of community, which means they will go to 5 companies and say, can you give me 40 internships, right? They won't go find that one person internship, which is in a cutting edge research center, which you need to have some knowledge to get into, right? Because a college has to focus on 100 students and they can't go to 100 companies. So they will go to the best possible way, in the shortest way, where everybody can get an opportunity. So it's not the institution's fault. It's your responsibility to see how you can leverage your job. So start now. You're never too early to start looking at what it takes for you to find a job. And I can give you umpteen number of examples of people who have started early and have found jobs, even though the placement season, the economy, everything was bad. So I hope that answers your question. Vivek?
So the next question is from the next question is from Vimal Chandar. Being a career coach, you should be an expert in knowing about new types of courses and career. How do you come to know about new things?
So I would say that being a career coach is like being a lawyer, right? There are so many laws, constitutional law, criminal law, and all of that. So if you go to a lawyer's office, you'll find a lot of books, right? So even in my house, I have probably around 4 or 5 different bookcases. But what happens with career courses, as he's rightly pointed out, there are new courses coming up every year. So what I do is I start putting in, so you have an option to put Google alerts and RSS feeds, right? Feeds where you can actually say emerging careers, different keywords. That's one way of doing it. Second is, since I work as an independent consultant, I am on LinkedIn constantly connecting with different people. So sometimes when I get questions, I bucket it into 2 sets of questions, right? One for which I know the answer, and for which I don't know the answer, but I can find out the answer, right? So one is I use technology to stay updated. Second is what I also do is I use my network. So constantly, I'm constantly updating myself by connecting to different specialists in the field. So when you see me as a career coach. But I have a network of, on LinkedIn alone, I have direct 23,000 professionals who are connected to me. So a lot of times what I do is when I'm doing career counseling for a person, I also reach out and say, I'm going to be addressing life science students, forensic students. So this is the list of careers I know about, and I, get into a chat, or I send them an email, at least a week in advance, and say, apart from these, are there any emerging things that I need to be aware of, right? And I send this out to a diverse set of people in that particular field. So I rely on technology. I rely on information which is already there. 3, I reach out to people who are specialists in their own field, because as a human being, it's impossible for any person to have phenomenal expertise, greater than Google in any field. So definitely I rely on experts whom I have constantly been collaborating with. When you get on LinkedIn, when you look at my profile, you'll find that I have collaborated on multiple projects with different specialists in each field, and that gives me the knowledge of different careers. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So next question is from Jeevan. Jeevan wants to know what are the career opportunities after BSc Data Science course.
So what I will do is that I will leave my email ID with Janna ma'am. So the career opportunities are, phenomenal. After you do BSc Data Science, you can get into bioinformatics. You can also decide to go into management. See, data science is a tool, right? So where you can apply it in different fields. So there are people who applied in management and commerce. They also applied it in pure sciences. So you can go into research, which is science research. You can go into business research. There are multiple fields in which you can get in. But I think that's a longer conversation. So I would recommend that you just take my email ID, send me an email, and I can send you the details. Or I can give the email ID right now as well. It's just my name, consultshravan@gmail.com. I'll also leave it with ma'am. So send me an email regarding the same, and I'll send you a link in terms of the career opportunities after BSc Data Science.
Thank you, sir.
So
You're
the
welcome.
next question is from Soumya. Soumya wants to know how would you define success? And she also is thanking you for a very informative session.
Thank you, Soumya, for your compliment. And I feel success is, I would define success as a mix of what you aspire for and the milestones that you achieve. So, for example, let's look at somebody who finishes college at Jain College right now. The same person finds a relative degree of success when he sees his first salary, right? And the first salary is, I'm saying, 1 lakh per month. It might not be the standard, but I'm just saying, right? It is success for him because he's worked 3 years very hard, apart from what the college asked him to do. Now that can be success. Success for the same person after he achieves that 1 lakh might be, he'll say, what do I find inspiration for, right? And then what he does is he sees that taking his father and mother on a vacation, because they really sacrifice everything to ensure that he gets into a good institute, right? So the same person might not feel very successful when he gets the salary, but might feel very happy when he takes his parents on a vacation. Or it could be a person born into the family, and usually in India we have this girl child versus boy child and stuff, and people would have told the parents, what's the point of having a girl child? But whatever everybody else said, when the same child gets these people who lived in a rented house their own house, right, through her earnings, that might be success to her. It might not be about the people who said it, but it might be her sense of satisfaction that somebody in the same family who has a boy would not have done nothing for the parents, but this is her way of showing. So I feel success is relative and there is no standard benchmark. Based on our experiences life, we set it, and that makes us successful. One more example is there's a person called Ramesh Ramnathan who became very successful in Citibank. But success for him when he quit Citibank as one of the top guys in South Asia Pacific wasn't really success for him. But he quit and he started Janagraha. So if you Google Janagraha, you know the social work that Janagraha has done. So the great work Janagraha has done, right, in Bangalore and other places in terms of lake conservation and working for the poor and the marginalized, right? So that is success for Ramesh Ramnath. He doesn't quote as Citibank years as being successful. I hope I have answered your question. It's been a little roundabout,
Yes,
I
sir.
agree. Yeah, okay.
Sir, I also have a follow-up question, like if you don't mind answering.
Please.
Sir, we were talking about the different courses and new courses that keep popping up every year, and we are more often than not aware of the courses because we don't know which are the most reliable sources, because some sources claim that there are few courses, but then when you actually get into them and you check, then those courses aren't available, or there are certain qualifications which are required, which are probably not a part of your your UG. So how do you know the
Yes.
reliable sources which you can find?
See, what I do, for example, is when a course is announced, right? you're checking about the verification of the value of the course, right? Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking
and
about?
also the verification of if that course actually exists. More often than not, there are a few fraud websites which just, write things.
So I think starting early will be one of the ways to find a solution. So what I'm saying is, like, for example, your faculty in itself, right? So for example, a lot of times we ignore the home advantage. So right now, Jarna ma'am, who's on this call, she's, for example, she's been formerly a cell biologist before she got in. So she was working in the area. So one is to check with people who would have the professional qualifications to verify your course, right? To see if the course is valid. The second is definitely, I don't know if you are on Quora. Are you on Quora? Are you aware of
Yeah,
Quora
yeah,
overall?
I am.
So you will find that you can put it up in terms of asking about the course. Second is, once you get onto LinkedIn and you start adding people, right, from your field areas, so you can write into some of them and say, I've heard about this course. Would your organization or institution accept these courses? So I'm saying, right, like, let's say right now you want to get into a research position with NASA or Indian Institute of Science, right? I'm just saying, giving it as an example. And there are these courses which you get to know. So what you can do is you can write to them and say that, these are the courses which have come up, and I would like to know if your institution or organization accepts these certifications, whether it's a company job or a research institution. You can write to them and ask them whether these courses are valid. Third is that look at the person who's behind the course, right? In India and globally, whenever you find a course which is being offered, which has authenticity, they mention it in the profile and everything. But what happens is sometimes they might be fraudulent. So the best way is to cross check with the institute itself, right? So in this Drone Pratap case that I was talking about, they actually started writing to these institutions and asking about whether this person has been there, has done that, right? So definitely when people say I'm from Indian Institute of Science and I have done this, the easiest way to is to write to the institute and ask, right, for it. And second, as I said, on LinkedIn and other sources, write into people who are your future employers or people who would look at these courses to take you in. You can write to even a Stanford University and say that there is this there is this course which is being offered. I would like to check the veracity of this course because it's been offered on a Udemy site, for example, right? And institutes will respond. I'm of course talking generically here, but what I would suggest is that if there are any specific courses that come your way, please feel free to get in touch with, email me, and I'll reach out to people whom I know I can help you with that, and so will your faculty. I hope that is a solution of that's acceptable to you.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So the next question is from Sudeshna. Sudeshna wants to know, I want to know if you have a perfect second option in life and you can't make up for the first one, does it mean you are leading behind the loop? Or you tried your level best and couldn't make it your priority option, doesn't work out? Which way can we take the perspective in?
I think that's a phenomenal question. It's a life question for all of us. So I would like to answer it by saying, when you say priority 1 and 2, plan A and B, we as human beings at any point of time in our life are having a set of choices, right? When you take choice A, automatically choice B and C might disappear. There might be some other related choice available. But in those circumstances, that's the best decision you could have taken, right? And when you take that decision, it charts out a different, it's like a video game. You go on this path, a new path emerges. But somebody on the side will tell you, no, you should have taken that path. But it's not humanly possible for you to have done that, right? So even now, when you had to choose between Jain University and some other university, you made a choice because this was the only choice you could take because a set of considerations. But a lot of times what happens is, Warren Buffett, the great investor, said that it's always easy for you to pass through something in your car, then look through the rear view mirror and see what happened. But when you're actually driving, you can't see through the front glass, right? If there is rain hitting it, it is hitting, right? So you have to take the decision at that point of time. So I think it's important to understand that there are decisions you take, It's only in time when we look back, we see them as good or bad decisions. But to be specific about it, I feel whatever options you take in life, you move forward and then see. If you look back too much, you won't see what's there in front of you, right? So 3 years back, you had two options to take, you took one option. Now, when you're looking at it, don't regret the option you can't take right now because of the earlier thing you gave up. Now look at what you can do right now, right? Stay in the moment, stay in the present, and you'll be able to make all your decisions work. Don't go to the past, only go to the past to learn from the experience and see how you can ensure that it's the best decision moving forward. But don't regret anything. I hope that answers your question, Sudesh.
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, Shruti, Bharadwaj and Loknath, they have a similar question. So they basically want to know how can we incline ourselves towards employment generation rather than getting employed in coming years?
Fantastic question. So one of the key aspects is to decide in which area you want to turn entrepreneurial. So I think there are two sides to it. One is to build the entrepreneurial skills and the know-how. The second is to look at the specific field and the knowledge it takes for you to run that business, which brings in the finance and the other aspects. So there are Government of India schemes for employment opportunity support where you're generating employment for others. So you have to see what are the requirements for that. Start collecting the information both from the schemes. Apart from this, there are also, if you are, I'm assuming since you're science students, you're going into that area. There are a lot of research grants are also which are available. So you have to identify that and start getting the capability to receive those funds, receive that guidance. There are fellowship programs as well. So I think it's great that you're looking at employment generation. This is what I can tell you at this point of time. But if you want more information, I can definitely, either we can look at a separate session based on how many people are interested in, or just send me an email in terms of your area of interest, and I can connect you to people and tell you how to go about it. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
So the next is Siddharth Toshar. So he first says that, sir, I really appreciate the talk. It was very helpful. I wanted to know if it could be possible to reach out to you in the future. I think you have answered that. So
yes,
for
please
advice as a mentee. Again, Viveka Vane asks, are internships important in placements?
Yes, internships are very, very important. In fact, the more internships you have, it indicates that, you have put in an extra effort. To just give an example, the college might say that you should have an internship once a year or once in 3 years or once in 2 years. I don't know what the structure is. I know of key students in different colleges and different streams who make the effort to go in for a short internship during the time that the rest of the class is on vacation. So we say that the heights of great men reached and kept, the heights of great men and women were reached and kept, not in sudden flight, but they, while others slept, were toiling upwards in the night, right? So what you can do in terms of taking on an additional 2 internships can nail it for you. So if in an interview somebody asks you, why should I hire you? So you can say that because I work harder than the rest. So generally these kind of answers, people say, okay, so what did you do differently, right? That's the next question that comes up. But if you say, see, my entire batch, most people did the usual mandatory internship, but 10 people did one more project or internship. But I was amongst the few people who did 5 more projects. Now the projects might be self-initiated short projects. It could be a 5-day internship. It could be a 10-day internship. It's not the duration, it's what you learn from it, right? So internships are definitely a key. And a related internship has more power, right? So if you want to get into, let's say, a company which does research for vaccines for cervical cancer, I'm just saying, right? And you have done your internship in a related field, it has far more value, right? As compared to a general internship in healthcare, right? I hope this answers your question.
So next question is from Vaishnavi Jaikumar. Sir, how to deal with people when they don't understand our career choice, and what should we do when it kind of discourages us?
So I'm assuming that when you're saying this, it could be somebody who's elder to you in the family. It could be your parents. It could be family, friends. So I think knowledge is power, and a lot of times when we have people ask us questions about decisions that we want to take, our immediate thing is we want people to accept us, and our response is that when they are not understanding, to be even more angry with them, right? Because it's your choice. So I feel the best way to deal with this is to flood them with information. A lot of times they will ask, okay, so you're going to do this course. So after that, what? Right?
Yes,
So
sir.
then they say, after that, what? So you collect all the information, and every time they tell you something, you keep giving them more information. And see, a lot of these people who are naysayers or who tell you this, they don't expect you to come back with information. Right? So if you say that, okay, if I do my BSc in forensics, the opportunities for me as against your belief is not just in crime scene investigation. I can also do this, right? And you connect to people in the field, and then you say, I can also teach it. I'm just saying, for example, India's best forensics college for master's courses and all of that is, let's say, in X place. You can say that after I finish my BSc, I'm going to go to this, which is one of the top 10 institutes, and these are the different career pathways. So the only way to deal with people who criticize you is to give them information which, honestly, between you and me, they might not even understand, right? Because you know the field and they don't. So the more technical you get, the more they will say, chhod do, let me go, right? So try that approach, and you'll see that it definitely works wonders.
Thank you, sir. And also, I have one more question. Sir,
Please,
what do
please.
you think about career abroad, from doing masters abroad, and how should we start preparing for that?
So I think, of course, going overseas is great. I'm not saying there are not enough opportunities in India, but it definitely helps to get a global perspective. So if you go when you're young, you have the opportunity to come back after learning and then contributing to India as well. So that's my belief.
Yes,
In
sir.
terms of preparing for it, I think one is, of course, your academics, right? You got to really be strong in your academics. It's also to build your communication skills to a greater height, and in terms of being great at presentations, letting go of your stage fear, work on that. Three is to also ensure that which country do you want to go to, right? So decide that based on globally when you start looking for information on the specific master's course, which are the top 10, top 20 universities, right? And in line with the country that you're going, it would be great to pick up the foreign language there, because one limitation could be that 3 years later, if you take the decision of which country, then you would not have picked up the language to do well in that country after the course to land a job. You get what I'm saying, right? So if you want to go to Germany, and you start looking at what institutes you're looking for, and all these institutes put up the eligibility criteria. So to answer that part of your question, if you go to the university and the program, they will say you should have a 3 years background in this, work experience in this, you should know this. So if you've decided that that's the country where you're going to study, it's going to be expensive, of course, but you should plan to, whichever foreign country you go to study, to work there for at least 5-6 years, so that you can make your money and also build your reputation in the field, right? So pick up the foreign language, try and understand the city and how they function, the city or the country which you're moving into, and also see what are the opportunities. So if that particular institute is good, but after that they are not giving you a job visa, it could be a challenge for you to stay on in the country. But at least see if that particular institute's course and syllabus is aligned with other countries, right? It shouldn't be a niche, so niche that you can't work anywhere else.
Thank you, sir. Also, so when should we start our internship? I mean, in UG, when you are in UG, when should we start the internship? Is it on the third year or the second year? When?
See, the college will anyway have outlined when your specific course internship is. That's something you will do by their bylines. So right now itself, when you start connecting to different people, you can start seeing which are the companies where you can ask them, can I come and do an organization study? What are the different departments, right? And I need to prepare a report. And you can reach out to your faculty to see if they ask you for a certificate saying that you are a part of Jain thing. I'm sure the college will help you with that if you say which institution. And you can find out what are the different departments there. You might not be able to contribute to the company, but even if it's a short internship where you're just studying what are the different departments, what are the different processes in that company or organization, research organization, that qualifies as an internship. They'll mention the duration and give you an internship certificate, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You
It
can
was
start
really
any
nice.
stage you do. You can do it in the first semester, second semester, whenever you have a break. But ensure that you don't do it in a way that it impacts your core academics. Okay. Then I don't want your faculty calling me and said, what, Shravan, what have you done? All our students are just taking up internships outside. Nobody's attending class, right? So don't do something like that.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Shravan sir, there are still a lot of questions. So I have asked the students to mail it to you because many questions are very specific to their stream. So last
Ma'am,
question.
can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
If you can ask the students based on their specific classes to create a single document and set the questions. And the reason why I'm asking is that I might get a lot of emails. So they can put those questions, put their email IDs, and wherever they find that the questions are repeating, they can put it as +1 or +2, +3, about how many people have the question. So then I can respond to it in a manner where wherever there are group situations, then all the concerns are there. So it becomes like an FAQ document for you. And wherever there are very specific questions, we can, after they do that exercise, they'll know what is very specific to them, right?
Yes.
So
okay, so then I'll do one thing. I'll make a Google Doc where they can all put in their questions, and so you can have access to that. So I think that would be. So students, sorry we could not take all the questions because of the time constraint, but as sir has informed, he will be sharing the email ID and I'll be sharing the same with you. Before I hand it over to Pallavi ma'am, one last information that I'll be putting a link on the chat group, so you can give a feedback about the talk. And I will also be posting the link again on your WhatsApp group. So if you miss it here, don't worry. I will post it again there. I'll be posting in both the places. And with that, I will hand it over to Pallavi ma'am.
We would really like to thank you, sir, personally as well, for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule. And during these days, it's difficult to be online, and you've made time for us. Thank you so much. And depending on the questions, I think we've seen that our students took a lot away from your talk. Maybe some other time when we have a lot of time, we can definitely call you back and then we can have another session with you.
Absolutely. I just have one thing to say, right? So when I always say that, that you have done something as a facilitator when students ask questions. So I really love the fact that all of you ask questions, because that shows your interest and inclination and passion to do, to make your life worthwhile and your career worthwhile. Even those of you who haven't asked questions, I really appreciate people who haven't left the, call, because that's also a sign that you're interested, right? So sometimes we are shy, we don't ask questions. And I appreciate the people who have come forward and asked questions, because the questions have not only helped you, but unknowingly you have supported and helped a lot of other people who are shy to ask questions. So you've clarified their doubts also. So it's a group contribution. And I always say that people support what they help create, right? So I really want to thank you, Pallavi ma'am, Janna ma'am, and as well as the placement team for making this happen, because I think it's always great. One of the reasons I work with educational institutions is I feel that in our times, we did not have access to technology or resources, right? And this generation has it, and I think they're infinitely more talented and far more, because they're standing on our shoulders and we should support them. So I think fantastic students, thank you for the questions, and thank you very much for making this happen.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
So students, I hope you have seen the link on the chat. If you are not copied it, it's perfectly fine. I'll again repost it in the WhatsApp group. Yes, sir.
Just one more thing. I think somebody privately asked me a question if I'm from Bangalore. Yes, I am from Bangalore. Bangalore is my hometown. I was born in Udupi. I've studied in Bangalore and Bangalore. So I think that question popped away anyway, but that's to just let the person know. And I also say that, I say I come from Bangalore because Bangalore is a small town. So I talk about it as the Dhoni effect. I think if Dhoni can do it, I can do it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I'm not as great as Dhoni, but so definitely. So I have had a lot of detours. And I think all of you are infinitely, I think you've got very capable faculty. Last thing I want to say is that John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I would reverse it and tell you as students, please ask yourself what you can take from your faculty, from your institution, from the speakers. It's our job, responsibility, dharma to help your students. Only then you will do something for the community. So please. So one last question on MSc. Yes, if you do your master's in science in other countries, also it is of great leverage. It depends upon the institute and the field and what it's known for. So definitely there is an advantage, but not all institutes abroad are better than Indian institutes. And please keep that in mind. So definitely do that quality correlation. So on that note, I hope I've answered your questions. Sorry for taking the additional extra time. I just felt that I just want to get those points.
No issues, sir. So thank you, sir. Thank you, students. So we'll see you tomorrow in the day 3 of the boot camp. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, do we have class after this?
No.
You have one session.
Only one session?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, I just want to check, is there anything that you need from my end?
Sir, your email ID. A lot of students are asking for your email ID, and I will make the Google link and I will share it with students as well as with you. So as they update the questions, you can have a look at it.
Sure. And you will share the recording as well, right?
Yes, we will. Yes.
Okay.
So anything you need from our side? Anything else apart from?
Yeah, I would just need a letter from the college to say that I have run the program and there were so many participants from different courses. That's it. And additional thing is, if you're on LinkedIn, I think if you could give me a recommendation or testimonials, or
Sure.
as well as the same testimonial you can give